All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Let's talk. I almost said let's talk Rockets. I do have a podcast called Let's Talk Rockets, but this iteration today, this is Let's Talk Football, episode number 5. This is our first episode in a couple of months. I think I ripped one of these at the end of June, so July, August. I think it's been 2.5 months since our last Let's Talk Football. We don't have plots. This is meant to be very interactive. The first 4 did pretty solid. You can listen to these on streaming sites, Apple, Spotify, all that. The links all should be down in the description, or type in Let's Talk Football with Jackson Elstro. Yeah, man, we did 4, and they all did pretty well. They all did pretty solid. And then summer hit, and the off season, man, it is such a just grind period. It is so freaking hot right now in Florida. It's 76 on my thermometer. What's up, Joshua George? I move tomorrow. I move in 2 days pretty much, and it is so fucking hot here. We're moving to the Tampa area. Live here in Fort Myers, Florida, but I'm wearing a long sleeve. I got this piping hot fucking thing, window is what they're called, right there. We're going to recap some football. Now, granted, we do have Niners versus the Jets tonight. As always, I'm wearing my Jordan Love jersey. I do have a prop for after this, but I haven't watched every single football game from this week. It's really difficult. It's Monday afternoon. We're going to get through as much as we can. Once again, I don't really have plots for this, but what I do have is the classic bowl of helmets. So maybe we'll rip that, but I'm still trying to watch all these football games. We've covered, I think I've got over half of them down right now. So this has been, Joshua knows it. He's OG. We started Will Upton. My name's not Will Upton, but we started Will Upton a long time ago. And when I first started making videos a couple of years ago, it was always Houston Rockets content, and we would do so many live streams, and I miss it so much. So we're right back here at it. Everybody hit that like button for me. But this is available on Spotify and Apple. I want this to be an interactive stream. I want it to be very different than every podcast you've ever really seen here. Joshua George, OG subscriber. I got Parlay on Breece Hall for receiving or rushing touchdown. I like it. Bowl helmets is awesome. What's up, Cartier? We're going to throw in that Zen top right, and let's get into it. I saw this tweet here from Steve Palazzolo, and I do think I should fucking put this on the screen for our visual watchers right now, just because I think it makes it come home real better. Once again, man, this stream is probably going to be extremely raw. I don't live stream nearly as much as I used to unless I am live streaming my golf podcast, but that's off the air. So let's see this. I was watching football all day yesterday. I watched so much fucking football yesterday, and it all seemed terrible. Like, I watched the Vikings-Giants today. The Vikings offense looked to be one of the more well-rounded teams. I watched the Buccaneers late afternoon. Their offense, they looked like one of the more well-rounded teams. But outside of Chiefs, Ravens, Packers, Eagles, and obviously Rams, Lions, which still was extremely dysfunctional. The Rams have a chaotic offensive line at this point, and the Detroit Lions were really interesting second half game calling from Ben Johnson yesterday. But I noticed something immediately, and I'm sure you guys did too. Like, none of these games really felt like week 1 of the regular season. It just felt weird. So week 1 passing touchdowns, 2019, there were 61. 2020, there were 52. 2021, there were 61. 2022, 51. 2023 last year, there were 37. And then we do have one football game tonight. So it's currently at 33 for the entire week 1 as far as passing touchdowns go. That number will probably, with Brock Purdy and A-Rod, it'll probably go up to 37, 38 or what have you. But just the point still stands, man. It's been a really weird, interesting week 1. And I think obviously a couple of years ago when the NFL moved just 3 preseason games, or I should say 4 preseason games to 3, and then they extended the regular season from 16 to 17. I don't know, man. I just think that changed a lot because every offensive line, it feels like I'm watching right now, even good offensive lines, they're still dealing with a bunch of dysfunctionality, or I should say inconsistency. So week 1's week 1, man. Rookie quarterbacks, really freaking suffered yesterday all across the league. And I don't know, man. I just don't think I learned all that much different from week one. Love seeing Tampa Bay get it going. I loved Seattle in the second half. The Raiders pissed me the F off. The Lions were unbelievable. I cannot believe the way that that game ended. Maybe let's start that on this Lions Rams game, 26-20 overtime thriller. I will get into the Texans in just a second here, but once we get into the bowl helmets shortly, the Rams, Lions, I mean, that might be the NFC Championship coming from a Packers fan. I hope it's not because I would love Lions Packers for the championship, but my man Jordan Love's injury was very unfortunate. We talked all year on this channel last season about, and by the way, everybody, throw as many comments just like Joshua did here. Throw as many comments, any opinions, all of that stuff down below in the live chat feature if you want to, because once again, I don't want this to be like a scripted show. We can make it scripted if you guys want it, but that's not really how I work. But I want it to be as interactive as possible with just easy flow from topic to topic. So I'm just spitballing off the dome here just to get some stuff going. Jared Goff's on my fantasy football team, and so is Sam Laporta. I need Breece Hall and Greg Zerlin to get like 40 points tonight, which theoretically could happen, but I have a 10% chance. But Jared Goff and the Lions offense was not in full season or regular season form. But my point I was trying to make is all of last year we talked on my videos. I said the Lions would have lost this game. The Lions, like all last year in the 12-5 Detroit Lions season where they made the NFC Championship game, they would have lost this game. They would have lost this close game. They would have found some way to F it up offensively or defensively. And the same thing applies for yesterday. They were going into halftime. The score is 10-3. And Detroit looked fine. Guys like Terrion Arnold, welcome to the NFL. Dude's a freaking beast. Jameson Williams, breakout year 3 on the way. I got a stat right here. 5 catches, 121 yards, and a touchdown. But, like Amon-Ra St. Brown, good example. 3 catches for 13 yards. It was just a really fascinating game that in the last 20 years, ever since I was born, unfortunately now I'm 25. I just turned 25. I feel extremely old. But the Lions always lose a football game like this. And I am so freaking excited about Jake Bates' future being this kicker because I saw a tweet from, I think it was from Colin Coward, and he was saying the kicker looks anxious. He looks a little bit nervous. I didn't see it. This is a UFL legend, and he nailed the game time field goal to give the Detroit Lions a shot in the overtime period where they got the ball and scored a touchdown. And that was a nail-biter football game. It was the best Sunday night football game you could have possibly asked for, just like Thursday night with the Chiefs-Ravens. My thoughts on that game still stand. I made a couple of videos on the Chiefs since then. The Chiefs got so much better, but I know nobody really likes to talk or hear about the Kansas City Chiefs outside of maybe Chiefs fans because we're all kind of sick of them. My Packers, we'll do it now. This is obviously a Jordan Love jersey. We got 10 viewers in here. Everyone hit that like button for me. It's a fresh Jordan Love jersey. Shout out to my mother for buying that last year. But because the GOAT, the greatest quarterback of all time, not named Tom Brady, the greatest passer of all time, we got to throw on the Rodgers jersey. I'm still I go to Packers at Bears every single year, and I'm like 99% sure I'm still going to wear this Aaron Rodgers jersey just for the culture. But that injury really sucked. Let's get into the fucking Texans here. Really underrated division as far as talent goes. Jacksonville fucking choked. I'm very nervous about Jacksonville and what they're doing. The Titans, Will Levis, one of the worst throw decisions you could possibly have made. The Titans just straight up lost that football game. I was much higher on the Titans than a lot of people heading into this season. I still am. I think that Titans defense is insane. I think they're extremely legit. I think that secondary is vastly under talked about. The Houston Texans, they've got a difficult schedule being first place last season, but if we had to base it off week 1 of the regular season, obviously they took down the Indianapolis Colts 29-27 on the road. based on what I saw from, I didn't watch much of Jacksonville, Miami, but based on what I did see, particularly the second half and the ending of that football game, and the way the Titans looked in week one against the Chicago Bears, I mean, it's the Texans' division to lose. CJ Stroud looked just like CJ Stroud of last season. Joe Mixon, under the radar pickup, 30 rushes, 159 yards, and a touchdown. CJ Stroud, 24-32, 234 yards, 2 touchdowns. Stephon Diggs, immediate impact. I mean, all offseason, Texans hype, right? We heard all the Texans hype, and it's just one of those teams where they're going to live up to it. They have their quarterback, and that's just the end of the day. Like, they have their quarterback. They came into the first round of the playoffs last year. I get it. You're going up against Joe Flacco, but the Browns had a ton of momentum, and they just knocked it out of the park. And obviously fell short to the Baltimore Ravens, and that was more of an ugly game. But Nico Collins, 6 catches, 117 yards. Tank Dell, 3 catches, 40 yards. Stephon Diggs, 6 catches, 33 yards, 2 touchdowns. Schultz got a little bit. Mixon got a little bit of work. Defensively, Caleb Bullock, welcome to the NFL. Enjoyed that interception. Derek Stingley Jr. They made a lot of nice under-the-radar moves like LZ Shire, but Daniil Hunter, obviously. The Texans, to me, are just, they're going to win the AFC South. I was a lot more hopeful that a team like Tennessee or even Indianapolis and also Jacksonville could hop into it. But honestly, based on what I saw yesterday, it's just their division to lose. They got a bunch of difficult matchups, but next weekend against the Chicago Bears, I just think they're going to rout them. Based on what I saw from Caleb Williams, I mean, it was just like history. A history for quarterbacks week one that were drafted number 1 overall. It is really freaking bad, and it has been bad since David Carr in I think 2002. It's just always been bad. So I know Caleb's just getting his feet wet, and he's going to improve. That Bears defense is extremely legit. It's still going to be a football game. Football's a game of inches, but man, I think the Texans are just going to run away. Swaggy's not going to like to hear that. Shout out to Swaggy. He is obviously an Indianapolis Colts fan. Swaggy, give me some thoughts on that game from yesterday, and let's hit the random bowl of helmets. I'm hoping it's a team that I watched, so I'm going to mute it because it's really fucking definitely not talking about the Chargers. That didn't count. Give me a second. The only Packers fan I tolerate. What's up, American Bullish? Nice name. Run away. We're right in that game. You get what I'm saying. The fucking Jags all set. All right, I got the second team here, but we'll get Bling on top here. Do you think Amon-Ra's Day was a fluke? Yeah, man. I think in general, I'm actually a little bit worried I drafted Jared Goff because they seem like a football team just like last year where they're going to get off to these early leads. They're going to score some touchdowns in the first half, and then it's just going to be ground and pound time. You want to limit opportunities for the opposing team to get back into this football game. No turnovers, no fumbles. David Montgomery, 17 carries, 91 yards, a touchdown. Jahmyr Gibbs, 11 carries, 40 yards, and a touchdown. Jared Goff only threw 270 total yards of offense, or passing yards, I should say. It was 100,000% a fluke. I don't think he's going to have as crazy of a statistical season that he did last year because of Jameson Williams. We talked about him at the beginning of this show, but Jameson Williams saw 9 total targets, 5 catches, 121 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, that's 24.2 yards per catch. So these, Sam Laporta, underwhelming-ish night. If he had a touchdown, it wouldn't be, but Amon-Ra St. Brown, you've got Reynolds back there, or sorry, not Reynolds. You got Khalif Raymond, of course, Isaiah Williams, but it's going to be the Amon-Ra, Jameson Williams, Sam Laporta, and I think Jahmyr Gibbs. We kind of saw a little bit. What do you have? 4 catches, 64, 4 catches, 34 yards, and 6 receptions. Those are going to be the 4 primary guys, but Jameson Williams to me is going to be close, if not well above 1,000 yards this upcoming season. So I don't think Amon-Ra is going to have as crazy of a statistical season like he did last year, but I do think Amon is clearly just fine. It was just a weird offensive game, unless your name was Jameson Williams for the Detroit Lions passing game. Rams shut St. Brown and Laporta down. It was bad, but we have JMO. There you go. The Ravens. Derrick Henry needs more touches. I have a lot of concerns about all the pieces that they lost defensively as far as coaches. Obviously, Mike McDonald now being the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks, which I'd love to talk Seahawks. If we got any Seahawks fans in here, Ravens though, run the ball more. I just think like week one, obviously Detroit fans are going to disagree here. Week one's probably the time actually to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, but I think Lamar's an underrated passer. He went 26 of 41, 273 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. And then he had 16 carries for 122 yards. The dude was a beast. I think that's above 400 total yards of offense from himself. Isaiah Likely, I really like. Mark Andrews will be back. I've got him in a couple of fantasy leagues. Rashad Bateman, if he can stay healthy, he's a massive deep ball threat. Zay Flowers, 6 catches, 37 yards. I really don't want to talk about the Ravens. Like, I don't know if I've actually ever made a Ravens video. I need to get on that, but that's all I have for the Ravens. Still a very good defense. Roquan Smith, Bears legend, but let's get to the Jags. I don't really want to talk about the Ravens or the Jags. Sorry if you're a fan of either of those teams. I had Puka for fantasy, got hurt. Yeah, it definitely sucked. CBS performance. What are we talking about? Ooh, fuck. Are we talking about Thursday Night Football for CBS? I'm super happy about Seattle's defense, but not the O-line. I'm a Seahawks fan and watched the whole game. First half was absolutely horrible. 2 safeties. I mean, it was actually almost like a third safety. Weren't they like really freaking close to getting a third safety? I was watching that game in the Raiders, Chargers, and there would be like 10-second spans where Gardner Minshew would throw the ball behind him, and then the fucking Seahawks would get a safety. Geno Smith ripped a 34-yard touchdown. I think it was a 34-yard touchdown run. Kenneth Walker got it going. The second half is what I anticipate to see from Seattle. I think the defense is severely improved. Obviously, George Fant went down early at right tackle, so he had to rip, deeper depth chart guy because the whole fucking Seahawks tackle unit, well, just like last year, is kind of injured now. I don't have an update on George Fant. Probably should have gotten that, but I think the Seahawks offensive line severely improved. I think guys like Laken Tomlinson, even George Fant, even if he's a depth piece, I think these guys are super solid. Wasn't George with Texans last season? For CBS, I meant the young cornerbacks in the game. Wait, let me go back to this comment. Where'd I mess this up? Oh, what do you think of the cornerbacks' performance? Oh, we're talking Lions. Terrion Arnold, welcome to the NFL. The dude held his own. Didn't Cooper Kupp tell him after the game, like, you're one of the ones? Freaking baller. Carlton Davis, all over the field. All over the field. I think he had at least 2 pass breakups. I think Terrion Arnold is going to be one of those kids who, first off, he looked phenomenal last night from what I saw of him. Obviously Cooper Kupp had a really good football game, but Puka got hurt. Matt Stafford's going to rip it. He's going to let it rip like he always does, always has, always will. But it's probably going to take Terrion a little bit. What I'm concerned with the Detroit Lions has nothing to do with the regular season. My concern with the Detroit Lions, just like every other contending team in the National Football League, is just please stay healthy. Like, just please stay healthy. Carlton Davis dropped an interception, but Carlton Davis, that trade paid dividends game one immediately. The Terrion Arnold draft pick paid dividends immediately. That went from a weakness to a strength, and it reminds me very much of the Detroit Lions 2 years ago, or that would technically be 2 years ago to last year. We had concerns about their run defense. I think they got lit up a little bit in preseason, or maybe it was the training camp joint practices 2 years ago. I think the Giants like ran all over them in joint practice 2 years ago, and there was maybe some concern with the running defense. DJ Reader, once he gets back, I mean, he's going to change that a lot, but they were second, don't quote me on this, I think they were the second best rushing defense last year. But my point just was, it's a completely revamped room. It is a little bit younger. You got OG veteran Carlton Davis, who's not old. He's not even an OG veteran, but he is as far as cornerbacks go. I think the defensive backs did phenomenal yesterday for the Detroit Lions, going up against one of the best quarterbacks in the NFC. I was reading, I just saw like an excerpt. I forget who it was. It was like CBS Sports ranked the top 12 quarterbacks in the NFL, or the Athletic or ESPN, or somebody ranked like the top 12 quarterbacks in the NFL. And I think like the top 6 were AFC QBs, and then they put Stafford at 7. So I'm just doing the math thinking, damn, is Matt Stafford the best quarterback in the NFC? Like, he very well might be. No shade. Brock Purdy, Jalen Davis. Jalen Davis. Is that even a player? Jalen Hurts. Obviously Dakota Prescott's really good. I think he was like right next to Brock Purdy. I think Brock Purdy was actually ahead of him in that list. Jared Goff, obviously top 10 quarterback in the NFL, but Stafford, man, you take wins against the Rams. Like, the Rams made the playoffs. That game reminded me eerily similar of that wild card, or wasn't that a wild card game of last season? Like, it reminded me very similarly of that, and Detroit still came away with victory. Hey, man, brother, injuries are the worst. I've been a Lions fan since Brett Favre was bombing past 70 yards on us Lions, but when I saw Love go down, I was like, no, please be okay. That freaking sucked. I really am hoping to see a Ryan Tannehill free agent acquisition soon, but I saw something today that Jordan Love's timeline is 3 to 5 weeks. When I saw like a couple of days ago, it was 4 to 6 weeks. So injuries suck. I felt so bad for the Minnesota Vikings, even though Sam Darnold was probably just going to win that starting job just because, like we saw yesterday, I mean, Sam Darnold's an extremely competent quarterback in the NFL, always has, always will. That's what happens when you get drafted by the freaking New York Jets in 2019, and that's what happens when you go to the Carolina Panthers in 2021 or whenever that was. So he got the short end of the stick, but JJ probably was going to come in as the starter, but I felt so bad for the Minnesota Vikings when I saw that, and it was very similar where JJ stayed in the game, and then post-game, oh, he's injured, we're awaiting tests, and then the next day it was, oh, he's done for the season. I was very concerned that something similar was going to happen to Mr. Jordan Love. Let's get back to the bowl of helmets. I don't know how to pack this. I don't know if you guys can tell. We got a mattress. There's a ton of boxes here that you guys can't see. My Christmas tree will always be up. It'll always be in the background of these videos. We're upgrading to a two-bedder. But yeah, man. Thank you, Robert. Let me mute this because it's loud. Everybody hit that like button. Drop some comments, opinions down below. You guys are doing a phenomenal job. I love it. This is going awesome. Anyone ever see the Impractical Jokers skit where they're like, roll the dice, play dice? It was like a networking thing, and they were like, roll dice under the table, and it just looks like that's how I feel. All right, we got it. Oh, the Seattle Seahawks and then the New York Giants. We're going to put the Giants back. We'll talk about the Seahawks. It's week 1, dude. I watched an unbelievable amount of football, like all of you guys, but because I'm covering I try to cover more team central, like the Lions, my Packers, the Steelers, a bunch of teams in the NFL. I love their fan, but Seahawks, like, I keep a closer eye. What I like to do is I like to have 2 football games on. I like to have my more important game that I'm paying extreme attention to on my TV, and then on my laptop, I like to be able to pause it and then skip through when the other game's on commercial break. So the Seahawks were one of the teams that I was watching, and like I was just saying a couple of minutes ago, I was incredibly frustrated in the first half because you had 2 safeties. Geno Smith's first pass, I'm pretty positive, was an interception, and the offensive line, George Fant, goes down right away, like literally freaking right away, and it was just kind of a mess. But then the second half showed me this is the Seattle Seahawks, and 26-20, like, one possession football game. Football's game inches, man. There really isn't that much difference. Like, just because you're the Broncos starting a rookie QB, or just maybe the Giants are a poor example, but just because you're the Broncos starting a young QB, the Broncos, like you saw yesterday, have an extremely young, new, revamped defense that is filled with dogs. They're filled with dogs, not household names, kind of similar to the Seahawks now, where this defense, to me, even more than Denver on paper, is freaking littered with studs. Julian Love, beautiful interception. Tyreek Woolen, beautiful interception, game sealing. Julian Love, forced fumble. Tyrell Dodson, Jerome Baker, new additions. Like, Tyrell Dodson at that linebacker position freaking killed it. He had 10 total tackles. Rashawn Jenkins, new addition from the Jacksonville Jaguars, freaking balled his ass off, was making play after play. Derek Hall, underrated dude who had a good, intriguing rookie season. You go back, watch the tape, even go and look at the stats for Derek Hall in his last couple of years at Auburn. I mean, this guy's a stud. Boye Mafe, freaking stud. And Wosu, when he comes back, freaking stud. Jerron Reed, former Cheesehead, freaking stud. Leonard Williams, freaking stud. Like, this Seahawks team, man, I know that first half was extremely ugly, but I say this every year. Somebody pointed out in my last Seahawks video, I say this every year with the Seahawks, but there's just no reason this team wins less than 9 games. I think if they can hold their own against the Rams, if they can hold their own against San Francisco, if Seattle goes freaking 3-3 in conference play, they're a 10-win team easily. All right. Isn't Seahawks Lions next week? That game for the last 2 years has been must-watch television. It is must-watch television. Rams versus Lions, Seahawks Lions. Don't quote me on that game for next week, but is that? I don't think it is. In a few Mondays. Okay. Yeah, let me see this week 2 slate here. Oh, Lions Bucks. That's right. Seattle's got New England on the road. I haven't watched that game. I haven't watched New England versus Cincy. I'm probably going to do it immediately after this video or after this stream. I'm sitting here watching my 2 football games. I'm watching my fantasy teams, and I keep seeing this fucking Bengals-Patriots game, and I'm thinking, what the hell happened? If we got any Bengals fans in here, man, why can't they just start non-disappointing? God, I don't want to talk about the Eagles. The Eagles fucking kicked my ass. Quinyon Mitchell, stud. Jalen Carter reminded me of Ndamukong Suh. You don't step on Aaron Rodgers' hand with your cleat, but that just brought up bad memories. Jalen Hurts just still doesn't really look like Jalen Hurts from the last couple of years ago. Obviously, Saquon Barkley had the Green Bay Packers defense's number, but the Eagles are a team I really liked covering on this past summer because they had a disastrous second half. I think they cleared it up with the coaching, especially Vic Fangio at the defense. Like, that defense is loaded. Philadelphia Eagles, as we remember 2 years ago against Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl, I think they just needed a year of dysfunctionality, even with that hot start. That the Eagles are one of these teams that I hate it because we played in Brazil. I have so many thoughts and so many opinions on that. I just don't know why we need to play in Brazil. Obviously the Packers haven't been like, I feel like the Seahawks are always overseas. I feel like Jacksonville is always overseas. I just don't. I like the 9:30 Eastern time start because I can watch football from like 9:30 a.m. to freaking midnight, but I don't want to play in Brazil. And when it's your fan base or it's your team, I should say, and you're a fan of it, I just don't really like Robert's kind of saying here, like, it's a cool idea in theory to play in Germany and to play in London and to play in Brazil. And the field condition was pissing me off the entire football game. I'm not going to blame that for Jordan Love's injury, but the Philadelphia Eagles are definitely a team that, from a hopeful NFC championship contending team, they do worry me in the sense of they've got a great dual threat quarterback. The tush push, Green Bay defended the tush push phenomenally well. So that gets me excited. But obviously, they added Saquon Barkley. They just got Jahan Dotson, who had a quiet night. But you got A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. You got all these studs on your defense. The Eagles definitely worry me. So we'll just put them back because, man, that game hurt. But it's week 1. I can take a week 1 loss. I can take a week 1 loss easily. I wish we were playing the Bears because I was at that home opener in Chicago last year where Jordan Love made his starting debut and they won like pretty much 41-10. I think the final score was like 41-20, but 41-17. I mean, we obliterated them. But I can lose week 1, but I can't have my starting franchise quarterback who just got paid an arm and a leg to be injured in week 1. I would have to say most of the games on Sunday were pretty sloppy. He didn't have too many football games from most of the teams. You had a few teams with good halves, but that was it. Exactly. Bunch of games with really good halves. Even like, I don't know why Tampa came to my mind first off, because I got a Bucks channel. Thought I moved to Tampa, but when I knew I was going to move to Florida, I made a Bucks channel immediately. Baker's so underrated, but like even that first half, I'm trying to think of that score at halftime. I think it was like 17-6. I believe it was 17-6. Buccaneers still looked really good in the first half. They just couldn't get on their first couple of scoring possessions. They had to settle for field goals, but then they really lit it up in the second half, just like Seattle. I think you really hit the nail on the head here. It was just very boring first halves. Like we started the show off with that statistic of passing touchdowns. It was just a really underwhelming week, and it has to do with playing 3 preseason games, and now you have a 17-game regular season. So I'm not going to play a starter for a whole half, or if I am, that's it. That's it for the whole freaking preseason. You used to have a lot of starters even rip full preseason games. So that's just how it is these days. Oh, we got one more left. So Lions, Bucks, who you got? I cannot wait for this football game. Isn't it in Detroit? You guys start off with 2 home games? I think it's in Detroit. It is in Detroit. Detroit will win. One thing as well that we were talking about the Lions earlier, how many games do you have out of the dome? I think it's like 2. The Detroit Lions, to me, especially with an injured JJ, Caleb and the Bears being extremely young, rookie quarterback, and now Jordan Love being injured, even though my only concern with the Detroit Lions, or the only thing I care about, is health, having that number 1 seed and having home playoff games, that would take Detroit to the Super Bowl, in my opinion. But Lions Bucks never disappoints. Need a water, but Lions Bucks never disappoints. I think it'll probably be very similar to last year. I think Baker Mayfield will throw for 300 plus, have a couple of interceptions, and that'll probably be the game changer. Is Baker will throw a pick or 2, Jared Goff won't, and they'll just keep it cleaner. They'll get off to some type of lead in the first half. They'll control the time of possession, and they'll let Tampa make mistakes while they keep it clean. Going to be a very good game. Tampa's a very underrated team. They have a difficult-ish schedule. Granted, they're in the NFC South, but if we had to be overreactors, Tampa Bay is winning that division over Atlanta. Atlanta's pass protection did not look very good. I'm worried about that Baker-Evans connection. I would not worry about that at all. I would not worry about that at all. We want it to keep it clean. Everybody stays healthy. It's going to be physical. I did notice that, especially yesterday watching football. Guys just were desperate to hit people not on their same football team. I mean, you see it in joint practices every year, but like preseason, you still want to rip heads off, but you also don't want to get injured at all, even if it's just a minor tweak, something you might have to deal with for the rest of the season. But you could tell yesterday, dudes were trying to hit people. I have to drink water, but let's do the bucket of helmets one last time. You guys are freaking killing it here. I got cooked in fantasy. Oh, man. Olave, when I first saw that score, I was like, oh, I got Olave in one of my leagues. I was like, oh, let's go. St. Brown, feel that. Kelsey, feel that. Harrison Jr., unfortunate. All right, let's mute it. Hit that like button. Once again, guys, this is available on streaming sites. I want it to be obviously YouTube interactive, but if you want to listen to these, like I said, I try to not have stuff on the screen here, and it's just straight up talking, led by you guys dropping comments and what I saw and all that and what you guys saw. So check out the links. It's probably not up right now, but check out the links. I'll make a community post about it. I'll get that figured out for the next time, but I don't think – type in Let's Talk Football with Jackson Ostrom. Restaurant crack during the Steelers-Falcons game. That was poorly officiated. Week 1's always kind of like that, where you have not quotas, I'm thinking cops, but like you have guidelines, or somebody think of the word I'm trying to say. Like the NFL comes into week 1, like we need to highlight this. We need to focus on this. We need to keep, we need to pay attention and emphasize these certain things with penalties. And I think in a lot of football games, it got out of hand. Like, Packers fucking Eagles, prime example for it. I'm sorry. And fucking Chiefs Ravens right out of the get-go. I'm sorry to see what happened with Love. Is there an update on him? I think we have sprained MCL. And I just saw today 3 to 5 weeks. I've seen 4 to 6 weeks. I assume Jordan will probably be back by the end of September, but obviously I'm not a fucking doctor. I'm not even close to a doctor, but I do think he'll come back earlier, because I don't feel good about Malik Willis being my starting quarterback. I liked Malik Willis being my scout team quarterback, but for when you go up against guys like Jalen Hurts, but I don't feel good about him starting for like a month. So once again, I'm anticipating a Ryan Tannehill move, hopefully. That Tennessee game really pissed me off. I called that upset. I called Titans over Bears. Caleb looked horrible. The Titans defense, telling you, man, it's legit. Tony Pollard, never really understood the lack of hype. Tajay Spears, people don't even know about him. Tyler Boyd, DeAndre Hopkins working himself back from his injury. I was surprised he even played yesterday. New addition, Calvin Ridley. Saw Conquo get a touchdown. He's underrated. On the offensive line, right side of offensive line for the Tennessee Titans definitely concerns me. But yeah, man, they lost that football game. The Bears definitely did not win it. All right, we got the Falcons as our last team here. Kirk tore his Achilles in week 8 of last year. So less than a year ago, obviously. And, you've got a brand new offense, brand new quarterback on a new team. And I knew it was going to take a little bit of time. And Pittsburgh, I was really excited for that matchup for Pittsburgh. I'm a big Steelers YouTube guy. I just kind of had a feeling, especially in pass protection, that they were going to be able to get to Kirk. And last year was just such a the last 3 years were such a rush heavy scheme with Arthur Smith and just Bajan now and Tyler Algier even 2 years ago, that the pass protection's not as good as the run protection. And Kirk has not played since week 8. So them playing the preseason, I knew it would take a little bit of time, but that was bad. Of course, I have Drake London in fantasy. I think he had like 2 catches for 14 yards, 13 yards, something like that. It's going to take a little bit of time. I think the defense is vastly improved with the simple additions of Judon and Justin Simmons. But you have guys like Zach Harrison, Grady Jarrett, new additions at linebacker. I think the Falcons will obviously be just fine. I was worried for Pittsburgh's sake of scoring touchdowns, which was exactly what happened. But yeah, I understand Kirk got hurt, but bad passes, mental passes have nothing to do with injury. I mean, I think it does. I think if you haven't played a live rep football game since week 8 of last year with a brand new team, dudes you've never thrown to before in live reps, I think it's going to take a little bit of time. But obviously, it was extremely underwhelming. But once again, I'll say it all freaking season. The Pittsburgh Steelers will easily win 10 games. I don't care who the hell the starting quarterback is. By the way, it should still be Russell Wilson. But Justin did his thing. Maybe they give Justin another week while Russ injured his freaking calf in conditional tests. Like, I don't feel great about Russ's health and the offensive line's a mess. But the Pittsburgh Steelers, folks, especially on paper, I mean, that's by far a top 10 or a top 5 defense. They won football games single-handedly last year with Kenny Pickett, Mitchell Trubisky, and Mason Rudolph. So, and they got better. Look at guys like Peyton Wilson. Sean Elliott made an interception right away. I was surprised to see Willis come out. I didn't know the Packers trade for him. They trade for him right when preseason ended. Same thing with our stupid fucking kicking, man. I'm so sick of this fucking kicking stuff. Like, give me a couple of pops, man. I'll fucking rant to you about kicking. Ever since Mason Crosby missed. Any Lions fans still watching this? Like, what was that one game? I don't think it was Thanksgiving. There was one football game. The Packers played the Lions. Mason Crosby missed like 5 kicks. Like, ever since that day, we can't figure out a freaking kicker, man. Not blaming the loss on the lack of kicking, but like, just like Malik Willis, we ripped Andres Carlson, we ripped Greg Joseph for all the preseason, and preseason ends, and you decide to fucking sign a rookie undrafted free agent from NC State. Just so stupid. So I got a text. We'll get through these comments and call it a day here. What do you think about Sam Darnold? I just made a Vikings video about an hour ago. Go check that out. He did a phenomenal job. The Vikings will still win 7 to 10 football games. Letter grade for the Steelers O-line. I got a deeper dive into the film. Maybe I'll make another Steelers video out with a more in-depth game video. But to be honest with you, all things considered, off the top of my head, I actually think they did a good job. It's difficult to assess a dude like Justin Fields and even Russ because they hold on to the ball way too long in general, and Justin likes to scramble. But as far as running goes, Najee had a phenomenal game, and they controlled the chains. I don't know if I think time of possession would check that, but I don't have a letter grade for the offensive line, but I think they did their job. They did what they had to do. I'm a Lions fan. Enjoy your show. Appreciate it. Yeah. Dude, kicking. You don't understand take it from a Packers fan. I remember Ty Montgomery dropping kicks left and right a couple of years ago in Green Bay. Whether it's kick returning, punt returning, now it's a little bit different with the new rule, or punting even, and especially field goal, kickers. You don't even know how blessed you are to have a competent veteran kicker until you don't. And then it's just like the most headache thing in the entire world. I'm sitting here stressing over like 35-yard field goals. What would that be from like the 12? Like I was just stressing over 35-yard field goal attempts. So if you have a good kicker, enjoy it because the grass on the other side is completely freaking dead, man. Completely freaking dead. That's it for today. We kicked 40 minutes. Aaron Rodgers. Get it done for us, baby. I don't like the Niners because, first off, it broke my heart my entire childhood. I was a little too young for the Brett Favre era to fully appreciate that. My entire Packers life, Colin freaking Shitternick, sounds really rude. He was a really cool football player. He seems like a really cool dude. I would love to have a quarterback like him. I have Jordan Love, so I'm not all that envious of it. But that fucking dude kicked my ass for so long. And then Jimmy Garoppolo from my hometown fucking kicked my ass for 4 more years. And I hate the 49ers. And then they broke my heart, and then they broke my Lions' hearts. So I'm rooting for the Jets for numerous reasons. Thank you guys for watching or listening. Once again, this is available on Apple or Spotify. Once this is over, I'll get those links down below. They'll probably be uploaded in about an hour. We're going to try and do this a couple of times a week now that football season is here. So I appreciate all y'all tuning in live, especially, and we will see you hopefully soon. Peace.